Are you ready to listen to my dad Joe and Uncle Justin talk about sports?
Now on with the show.
The Joe Mays and J-Raff Show is brought to you by Mays Sandwich Shop, which have been serving the greater West Lawn area delicious food for over 70 years. You are listening to the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show.
Boring.
A weekly podcast about sports since 2011.
Don't you ever get tired of being wrong all the time?
With a focus on football.
36-yard line of Philly, shotgun snap to Hurts, dropping back, only one person rushing, Hurts looking, standing still, winding up, long pass, it lands at the 20, no one is there, zeros on the clock, it's over, the Chiefs have won, Super Bowl 57 on a game-winning field goal, trailing at 10. At the halftime stop, 24-14, they go on to win 38-35. What a game.
Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffauf. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. I'm one of your hosts, Joe Mays, and here with me, afar, but still here in the room, is my co-host, Justin Raffauf.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
And we are going to be continuing our play through NCAA Football 14 Dynasty mode. Oh, I don't want to show my recording there. There's the game. And actually, Justin and I are going to swap seats because I am up first. So let me pull up the gaming monitor and we'll get ready to rock and roll. While we play this evening, we are going to be discussing NFL free agency because a lot has happened. We were going to make this a primer, Justin, but we delayed this show a day, and, moves have already happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's only fitting because last week we made a lot of speculation, and then it feels like there was a bunch of news or things happening the next 24 hours, you know, there's just a lot of kind of things coming through. And then, between yesterday and today, the legal tampering, which is kind of an oxymoron. But the legal tampering opened up. Oh my goodness. And so it's been going crazy.
So did the legal period start officially at noon or so? Because I feel like I didn't hear anything until after lunch, and then all of a sudden everything.
It probably was noon or something like that, but I don't know.
The contracts can officially be signed until Wednesday at 4 or something like that. Yeah,
see, I lose track of the date, and so I don't really know when things are allowed and not allowed and stuff. But yeah, but they all come to agreements. Which, again, when they come to agreements on some of these complex contracts, it's almost as if there was probably some discussion before today. Right, yeah. Which, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not... It is what it is. It's not that big of a deal.
Who else would it be? Senior safety. So... That was absolutely not the button I meant to hit as I throw into quadruple coverage. But... There were some big moves, Justin, before we even got to the legal tampering period, probably early last week, which impacted our discussion just 8 days ago about who is in line to win the NFC South in 2023. Derek Carr signed with the Saints, which I feel like makes them the favorite now. It's tough to imagine that the other teams would be better situated to take home that crown in 2023, though I don't think you can count anyone out. I think any of them could step up, but I feel like the favorites now have to be the Saints with the signing of Derek Carr.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not saying that they'll be right there. It'll be interesting. I'm still interested in what will come of the Panthers, and I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit, but just because they were so close to making it last year, but we'll have to see. I mean, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Oh, nice. trading some interceptions to start. Hopefully I can do a little bit.
But yeah,
better
I still think the Saints and Derek Carr are going to be a good spot. I mean, I'd say Derek Carr is a step up over Jameis Winston.
Yeah, I would think so. I feel like maybe James has
So
a higher ceiling.
my questions about the Saints are not so much about Derek Carr. It's about the Saints. Like I don't know. It's hard to tell in the NFL when you don't have your quarterback. But when I watched that team, I didn't feel like they were a quarterback away this year. Did you?
No, I feel like there were still some issues
Right.
there. But
Now that may be skewed because if they had a quarterback, maybe they do win that division because that division was bad. You know what I mean? So maybe they were. But like, and I know this is a touchy subject, but like when I look at the Jets, I feel like the Jets might be a quarterback away. You know what I mean? Like,
no, they certainly think so.
right. And I can understand why they think that. Whether they're right or wrong will probably play out in some form. But like, I can see why they would think that, and why a lot of people would think that. But I didn't necessarily feel that way about the Saints. Now at the same time, if like Michael Thomas is a weird thing, like because like some of it has been injuries and some of it seemingly has been like just lack of desire to play, or maybe lack of urgency is maybe a better way to saying it. But like, I don't know. That's kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's still me. I'm still up. It's just my dad said that my mic's not up high enough, so might be because I had the wrong one on, maybe. So let's see if that works any better. Hopefully Hopefully you can hear me a little bit better now. That's what I was trying to check earlier, but I couldn't figure it out.
Right.
But
so, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, I'd say the Saints have to be the favorite right now. And there are some weapons there, certainly, but I just don't think they're guaranteed to be necessarily an NFC contender.
no, I'm completely with you. I think they might be better. Were they 7-10, 8-9? What was New Orleans last year?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head
I
where
think they
the
were
NFC
at least
was
third
at.
place in the division, though, I thought.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm gonna quick pull that up because I don't remember where the Saints were, but yeah, I still don't think any team in the NFC South, at least as it stands, entering free agency before the draft, and injuries can pop up and things can change, but I do think now the Saints are the favorites in that division, although I still think they're all relatively close.
Yeah.
So the NFC in 2022, the Saints were the Panthers, Saints, Falcons were all 7-10, one game behind the Bucks, who won it at 8-9. So they're all very much clumped together. So the Buccaneers lost Tom Brady. The Panthers, we'll get to them in a second. The Saints are going to Derek Carr, and the Falcons are going to do a full season of Desmond Ridder. At least that's what it looks like. The Falcons did just sign Jesse Bates, the Bengals safety. He's going to Atlanta. The Panthers said goodbye to Sam Darnold, but also made the biggest move outside of signing a veteran quarterback. They traded up in the draft with the Bears and now hold the number 1 pick.
Yeah, and that's a little bit of what I alluded to before. Just in that it'll be interesting because like they were on the verge of making the playoffs, not necessarily being good, but however they what are the Panthers gonna do?
Right, you're talking about who are they going to take?
Right, I am on board with it. Trading away the picks. Honestly, it's not like they gave up a ton because they really swapped firsts this year. So basically, they gave up a first and a second and DJ Moore. And I get here a couple interesting things. I think it's something like DJ Moore, like already would be like have
the
like
franchise leader in receiving yards.
Right
for the Bears
for the Bears.
In his 4 or 5
Right.
years in Carolina.
And I think DJ Moore's very good. Maybe I'm skewed because like what has he had to work with,
Right.
But like I don't view him as
A tier 1.
right. Well, okay.
He's not Justin Jefferson. Or
Right, he's not Justin Jefferson, or in my homerism, I don't view him as AJ Brown.
AJ Brown.
But I think he's not nothing either. Like I don't want to downplay it, but like I don't know. And the Bears have some other pieces at wide receiver, so like it's not, like Chase Claypool's a good 2 or 3, I think.
Possibly, maybe.
Right.
Well, they also have Darnell Mooney.
Darnell Mooney, I think, is a good 2. But like, do you have 2 good 2s and a 3? Sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Claypool and Moore are the same type of receiver, so that benefits them as well.
Correct. I just, it'll be interesting.
Oh, are you kidding me? He didn't get in.
It'll be interesting. Like I think they're good, and I like the move for the Bears. But I don't think it's like crazy on the Panthers' part. What's going to be interesting to see is how this plays out, because there's all kinds of rumors, and I think what it comes down to is people don't have any idea. But there's rumors that Reich loves Anthony Richardson. There's rumors that he likes C.J. Stroud, but the owner wants Bryce Young. Like,
well, I know all the betting sites move C.J. Stroud to the likely number 1 pick.
And if that's your guy, okay, I can see that. I can also see Bryce Young. I can't. Man, Anthony Richardson, that's a risky move right there.
You know my opinion on Richardson and Levis.
Yes.
So
yes,
it's not high.
Right.
They're not
and
first rounders.
I'm on board. I'm on board with that.
Like, I understand. I don't want to hedge, but they could be first rounders. I just don't see it happening.
Well, and here's the thing.
They're going on physical traits.
And here's the thing.
Not execution.
I think they could be first rounders and quote unquote worthy of that if they ended up in the quote unquote right situation.
Right system, yeah. I guess I should say I don't see them as day one starters as rookies.
Right, and the problem is if what we would probably consider right situations are situations where they're not going to be starting this year or maybe even next. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So, like, I'm trying to think of scenarios like that, and I'm not really sure of them off the top of my head. But like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say.
It's just, man, to trade up for that.
Well, I feel like the Texans are just like, you do whatever you want. We'll take what's left. Like, I feel like they're ready to take Stroud or Young. Like, whoever it is, they'll be happy with whoever it is. Me, personally, and I know there's an issue with height and weight, but I still think I favor Bryce Young.
I think I do, too. I know it scares
I'm not saying that as an anti-Stroud because he's an Ohio State guy. I feel like Young is the safer bet. I want nothing to do with Richardson and Levis in the first round.
Right.
I said to you and Adam that I feel like any coach, GM, front office that pins their hopes on Richardson or Levis in the top 10, they're losing their job within 3 years.
Right. Like, I know they don't have the draft capital to really do it, but like somebody like, and this would be interesting, and I don't necessarily know that they should. They've got other holes, but like if someone like the Rams like traded back into the first round and got him at like 27 to 31 ish, you know what I mean? Like to take one of those guys.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting, but like that's kind of where I feel like you're at, not trading up to 1 for them. But I don't know. We shall see. So what, and again, it's hard to separate our views on this, but what are your takes on, like, quote unquote, the Ohio State quarterbacks? Like, I think there is something to the fact that, and again, I don't mean this to knock them down, but to talk about they play in an incredible system with the best athletes. You know what I mean? So, like, but at the same time, like, I think Justin Fields is worthy of the shot in Chicago. I think C.J. Stroud could be very good. I think when we talk about those Ohio State, quote-unquote Ohio State quarterbacks, some of those were Urban Meyer guys, and that's a whole different animal. You know what I mean? Like, they're running a very different offense than, like, Urban Meyer did with, like, Alex Smith, you know?
Right. Yeah. I don't know what to say about the Ohio State stuff because it'll always sound like sour grapes or,
Right, exactly.
We're fans of a rival
Sorry, I took a timeout here. I'm not sure what they're going to do, but
Are they punting?
I
They're
feel-
in formation.
Okay.
You can return it. It's fine.
Okay.
Just to be safe. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. Panthers pulled off that trade with the Bears. Bears are off to a hot start in free agency. They signed Edmonds from the Bills. I like to see the Bills be weakened. Of course, they also did sign Penn State product Connor McGovern from the Cowboys.
Yeah.
They did also, I believe, extend or restructure and add years to Milano's contract,
I believe so, yeah.
which is a big deal for them because he's a stellar player. But the biggest news was Carr to the Saints, then the Panthers, Bears trade, and then I guess probably next up is what my Dolphins did.
Yeah. Yeah, Dolphins have been making some moves.
Which is trade for or pending, the start of the
Right.
league year. My boy, my favorite defensive back,
Is the jersey on the way?
Jalen Ramsey, is going to be coming to Miami. Apparently, this is what he wanted. This is when the Rams were open to trade him or told him they were going to trade him. It sounds as though that Miami was his choice
So
to go.
who was the second cornerback in Miami last year?
Yeah, that's a great
Okay.
question because
Because
of injuries.
I
It
only
wasn't
heard
Byron Jones.
I only heard part of it of this conversation today, but they were talking the guy who I believe Jalen Ramsey is going to be
Well,
replacing.
there's Nick Needham, Keon Crossan, and
and so
Kader
maybe it's the position, but,
But there
you
are
know,
a bunch
but,
of injuries.
but basically rated as like the second worst cornerback. And so like it is an upgrade. It is an upgrade. You're paying for the upgrade. I mean, a third rounder for him isn't
a third rounder and a backup tight end that has one career catch.
right. Honestly, when I saw the stuff, I was immediately like, "Oh, maybe they're going to." And because isn't what's his name? Our guy from Penn State isn't he a free agent this year?
Who are you talking about?
The tight end in Miami.
Oh, Gesicki.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because they had franchised him last year, didn't they?
they did.
Right. So,
But he just doesn't fit in the McDaniels offense.
right. But I'm like, oh man, there's gonna be a lot of turnover there with tight ends. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to kind of see how it plays out. But yeah, the Dolphins are kind of in win now mode.
That seems to be what they're going for, yes. They're kind of getting closer and closer to that, F them picks Rams mentality
Yeah.
with what they've been doing. Oh, that was not smart. But now their defense, you have Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb, Christian Wilkins, Xavier Howard, and Jalen Ramsey.
Right.
So, they've put together quite a core on defense.
Yeah.
Oh, and you have a new defensive coordinator who's considered one of the best,
Right.
at least in modern NFL
Right.
history. So,
Yeah,
you got that going for you, too.
Yeah, that'll be interesting, and there's going to be a big part of this as to it's going to come down to Tua.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
his health, really.
Right.
He was
Right.
a top
Yeah,
3
not-
to 5 quarterback in most statistical
I agree.
metrics.
I feel like most of the question, the number one question around him is not going to be talent or skill, or anything revolving that ability. It's going to be, is he going to be able to stay healthy?
Yeah,
So-
and they addressed that today too by signing former Jets quarterback Mike White.
Right. Exactly.
2 years, $16 million. That's a lot of money for a backup quarterback.
Right, but
Mike White has also looked very good in his 8 games for the Jets.
We've seen a number of times over the last few years in the NFL, like having a reliable backup can be the difference between a championship or not, or keep staying in contention or not.
Yes, see Henny Chad for the Chiefs in the playoffs 2 of the last 3 years.
See also Nick Foles for my team.
Yeah, Eagles 5
right.
years ago. So now I don't want to see Mike White play,
No, correct.
but I'm confident that he can at least get the job done. I know some people are saying, after what Skyler was able to do in Buffalo in the playoff game, maybe he should get a chance, especially because he's young. He was only a rookie. keep him around as the third stringer. Try to keep him on the practice squad. You're not going to re-sign Teddy Bridgewater now, who had injury issues of his own, which is why Skylar Thompson was forced to play multiple times last year. But now you have Mike White, who's, I mean, still also a relatively young quarterback too, but keep all three around. Obviously, you're going to need them. So that also weakens your AFC East rival in the Jets, who, like you said, could maybe be a quarterback away from competing not only in the division, but maybe even the conference because of the recent success they've had in the draft and free agency and proper extensions. Now, they seem to be all in on Aaron Rodgers, though, and he's kind of holding them hostage. He hasn't made up his mind. Now the Jets lost their next best option to fall back on because they have to keep Zach Wilson around, but they don't want him there. I don't right now he's in line to be the starter, though.
I was going to ask you, isn't it weird how no one's even talking about what effect is this going to have on Zach Wilson? Everyone is just completely moved on. It's over. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's lucky for that draft class that Trevor Lawrence looked good at the end of last year because the rest of them have not.
Yeah, if it weren't for Trevor Lawrence getting there and winning a playoff game.
Well, and I guess that's not true because Justin Fields looked better at the end of the year, too.
He did.
And the Bears are banking on them seeing that all year if he can stay healthy, which I feel like is the biggest question mark for so many of these young quarterbacks right now is can they stay healthy?
The thing is, they go to so many of these historically bad teams. What do you want them to do?
But yeah, he looks so much better at the end of the year. I mean, he was one of the reasons that I had a resurgence in fantasy. Now, it didn't work out for me to win the championship or anything, but I was awful at the position because I didn't keep Joe Burrow around thinking that he could have a down year after his second year. That was a huge mistake on my end. Oh, no, I don't know what I just audibled to. He dropped it.
We need to break out the jugs machine.
Oh, yeah, really.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Like you said, a number of interesting things going on in the AFC East there.
So I guess the other part of our discussion. Well, we need to talk about the Eagles, so you can decide if you want to talk about the Eagles now or if you'd rather talk about franchise tags first.
Let's talk about Eagles now.
Okay, so the Eagles have already lost 4 guys.
Right. John Hargrave went to the Niners.
Hargrave went to the Niners. T.J. Edwards went – where did Edwards go?
Bears. He went to the Bears.
Oh, the Bears. All right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they got Edmonds and –
Right. Now, so Hargrave was – that's not a surprise. Everyone kind of knew – he was probably a one-year guy that they weren't going to be able to afford him moving forward. And then you look at some of the others. Edwards, but I kind of look at that. That's one of those where I'm sure they would have liked to have bring him back, but he's going to get more money somewhere else that we're not going to be able to pay him. However, hopefully Kobe Dean can step right in, and play that linebacker spot.
Yeah, that was a good pick last year. So Marcus Epps also gone. That's 3 defensive contributors.
Right.
And then who else? Who was the fourth? There was another guy.
I mean, Andre Dillard got
Andre
signed
Dillard,
somewhere.
that's right. Yeah, reserve lineman who could have possibly saw more time this year.
Yeah, again.
But with Kelsey coming back, that means that Cam Jurgens can slot in at guard for Samalo.
Yeah.
If he leaves. I mean, I think it's likely that he leaves. Well, but with Kelsey back, it makes things a little easier.
The Eagles are not anticipating Samalo back just because, again, he played so well, he's going to command more than the Eagles can give him. I mean, it's the thing. I'm happy for the guys that they're able to that they're going to these things because of success. You know what I mean? It's kind of what happens. You hope some of those guys we lost a defensive lineman, an interior defensive lineman, and a linebacker. Well, we had a defensive lineman who really started to step up last year, rookie. And we had a linebacker who started to play better as the year went on in Kobe Dean. I don't say, not like he played bad, but started to learn the position in the NFL and really come on to things later there too. So okay, Epps was a spot just because in the NFL now you always need 5 or 6
5 or
DBs.
6 DBs, yeah.
So there's some, but a lot of people think, they'll kind of go that route a little bit, potentially in the second round.
What's your read on the Darius Slay stuff?
Okay, so from everything I've seen, the Eagles kind of want him. He wants to stay. He wants an extension, and he's made that clear. And I think they're just trying to kind of like see what the market is and let him kind of. I think so. He has no guaranteed money left, and I think he's looking for one more big contract. And I don't think the Eagles are really in a spot to give him like the big contract. I don't think there's
breaking news.
Oh gosh.
Not NFL free agency related.
Okay.
College football related.
Oh gosh.
Penn State hires D-line coach.
Okay.
Deion Barnes promoted to replace John Scott Jr.
You called it. And that's awesome because it keeps
slam dunk, home run.
Keeps Deion Barnes there.
You got Letterman.
One of our best recruiters right now too. And how cool is it seeing some of these guys that like now Deion Barnes is arguably even a little after that, but like Justin King being on staff and
right.
Deion
Guys
Barnes
that we're familiar with because they played there or were being recruited there while I was there.
Right. Justin King was part of that group that turned things around.
Yeah, Justin King.
Gateway High School.
Gateway High School, where Wilson just played a state basketball playoff game. But yeah, so that just came breaking news. I'm guessing Audrey probably has a quick write-up. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are other guys out there that I would like to have, but because of his ties to the program as an alum, as a letterman,
right?
And he was a coach in Philadelphia before for a few years.
Yes.
Was it Northeast?
I
he coached at
so.
Northeast. And what he's been able to do as a graduate assistant
Right.
and then an analyst.
And the relationships he has with players and what players think of him, I feel like it's a great next step. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, so this is the Athletic article from Audrey Snyder, the best in the business for Penn State. Penn State named Deion Barnes its new defensive line coach Monday night, promoting the 3-year graduate assistant and former Nittany Lions defensive end. Here's what you need to know. Barnes replaces John Scott Jr., who was named the Detroit Lions defensive line coach earlier this month. Scott spent 3 seasons at Penn State. The 30-year-old Barnes played at Penn State from 2011 to 2014 and was named Big Ten Freshman of the Year in 2012. Penn State begins spring football practice on Tuesday. So Penn State football's tweet is from Pennsylvania, played in Pennsylvania, now coaching in Pennsylvania. Deion Barnes is staying home.
I was going to say, as Penn State likes to put out there, the best in Pennsylvania stay in Pennsylvania, right?
I love it. I love it. Are there other more seasoned and more
absolutely
reputable coaches at this moment in their career that have been around the block and have led big defensive line classes and sent players to the NFL? Were they options? Possibly, probably. But I think in terms of the future and keeping going what Penn State has,
right?
I feel like this is the hire that needed to happen.
And especially looking like this could be a guy who's there for a couple years, you know what I mean, or a few years, hopefully, which is good because Manny Diaz is likely to not be there after this year. And I mean that in a good way. Like, if the defense continues to perform the way
the defense plays like they did last year,
he's going to get offers to leave. And, like, again, it's a lot of turnover, but that's the price of success, especially in college football and even in the NFL. But yeah, that's really cool. But kind of back to the Eagles. So they do have some questions there. I like that Kelsey's coming back. I say he's getting older. He's not old, but he's getting older for
old
football.
By offensive lineman standards.
Right. But like he just was played at an all-pro level, like
what is he, like 33, 34?
I think he might have turned 35.
35?
So like, I like that you're bringing him back. And they've added pieces. It wouldn't surprise me if they take another offensive lineman early on. I'm not saying with that 10th pick necessarily, but wouldn't surprise me to see them take some guys like maybe that 30th pick or even some of the other mid-round guys. We'll see, but Yeah, I think, the Eagles definitely have some holes to fill, but where Howie is best, it's at manipulating the cap. And we've had this discussion before. I think it was something like a few years ago when the Chiefs re-signed Kelsey and re-signed like 2 other guys, and like going into free agency, they were like $3 to $7 under the cap or something like that.
Something ridiculous.
And they just like, you can make it all work. And if there's one thing Howie is best at, that's it, is manipulating the cap. So they'll get in a spot there. In my opinion, I want them to work something out with Hurts before it becomes quote unquote an issue. You know what I mean? Like, and I know that's tough, and you got to kind of see where the market is for certain things. And I kind of take the no news is good news route with that right now. You know what I mean? Like, if your quarterback's contract scenarios aren't in the headlines, that's not the worst thing in the world.
Right.
I'm sure the Ravens would do a lot to not have their quarterback contract issues be the headlines. You know what I mean? So,
sure.
And like I look at like Miami, they put that to bed real quick. Yep, we're taking his 5th-year extension.
We're picking up his 5th-year option, and we're signing Mike White, who we don't see as a starter but the backup.
Right. Exactly. So
questions answered.
Now if Howie takes Anthony Richardson with the 10th overall pick,
hey, quarterback
factory, baby. There is no chance that's happening. He could take a D lineman there, though. That's what they always do. Again, as long as he's not a firefighter from Canada, we'll hope for the best in that scenario. But yeah, so a lot of the Eagles things right now were known things. And you'll see what you got to do, and you need some of those guys, some of the young guys, to step up and maybe add some complementary pieces here and there. But I'd love for them to get Gardner Johnson, and I know they really want him, but I know the Bengals really want him after they lost both their starting safeties today.
Yeah, Bates and Von Bell.
Right.
Do you remember where Von Bell went? Was it Carolina?
I'm not sure. So we'll see. I would love Gardner Johnson just because that middle was such a big thing. They were a completely different defense with him in there versus not in there. But we'll see. Yeah, if I had to pick between, if I have to pick between Bradbury or Gardner Johnson, I'm taking Gardner Johnson. You know what I mean? Just age and everything, but yeah.
So a couple other signings. Mike McGlinchey, the 49ers offensive tackle, signed with Denver.
Yeah.
So that was a big move by the Broncos.
I was gonna say, that's all right. That
Russell Wilson.
They don't block on that right side for the Niners anyway, so.
I'm trying to think of what else I saw out there. So the Dolphins signed a linebacker, David Long.
Oh, the Eagles are bringing back Brandon Graham too.
Oh, right, yeah. That happened before free agency,
yeah,
but yes. So the Eagles did keep Brandon Graham and Jason Kelsey, so they got to keep some of their own while losing people that I think they assumed.
Two of the most veteran guys, like Eagles lifers,
Right, they've been there their entire career.
Right. It's incredible. And, man, the New Heights thing with the scout who did the scouting report on Jason Kelsey, being there and talking about it, how cool is that? That was really cool seeing that.
So, Patrick Peterson leaving the Vikings to go to the Steelers?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. The Steelers haven't had a DB of that. Well,
I mean,
okay.
This isn't 5 years ago,
right.
So.
Right. Minka Fitzpatrick is very good. Right. I know that one's.
But now to pair the two of them, but I like Peterson's not.
No, it's not. But I still feel like he walks in there better than any other.
Well, yeah, and they also just lost Cam Sutton.
The best or second best DB on that team walking in the door, The Steelers are an interesting bunch there. We'll see.
Well, are they better than 9-8 is the question, because I feel like you're good for at least 500 with Mike Tomlin.
Right.
But are they able to win 10 or 11 and challenge? If Lamar Jackson is with Baltimore and healthy, I think they're winning 10 or 11 games.
Right.
if they add some weapons for him, I think that obviously makes it even more likely.
Right.
The Steelers, I think, are winning 8-9 games with what they have. The question is Pickett going to take the next step and get them to 10-11 wins? Can the Bengals remain on top with the possible loss of someone like T. Higgins, who's going to be due for a contract soon, and other teams have been already sniffing around him in a trade because they're going to have to sign Burrow and Chase here in the next few years?
It's crazy because I look at this. I feel like that AFC North. You could make an argument that like any of those teams could win it. You know, like if Deshaun Watson looks like Deshaun Watson of 5-6 years ago, they could win it. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying I think it's likely, but they could. If the Bengals just keep playing like the Bengals, they could win it. If Lamar Jackson's there and healthy all season, they could win it. And the Steelers, while I hate to admit it, like if Pickett
they're never going to go 4-13.
Right. If Pickett is the guy, you know, and they start adding some of these other pieces, like I feel like they could win it. Ugly, but I think they could win it.
I don't think that we're in
I think the Bengals, short of a Joe Burrow injury, though, are the only team where I'm like they won't finish last. You know what I mean? Like I could see the Steelers finishing last. I could see the Ravens finishing last. I could see the Browns finishing last. I don't see the Bengals, short of a Joe Burrow injury, finishing last. You know what I mean? Like I just.
And another year for the Bengals front office to attempt to improve the offensive line, which was still an issue this past year.
Yeah.
And now they have to shore up the defense because you lost both of your starting safeties.
Right.
So there's issues there, but when you have Burrow and Chase, there's not a lot of teams that can compete with them outside of Kansas City and Buffalo.
Right.
But will it be Baltimore, Cleveland, or the Steelers? I don't think we're in for a second-year renaissance of Kenny Pickett like we saw with Joe Burrow, who came back off his ACL injury.
I don't mean to downgrade it, but I feel like if we rewind 20 years, we were watching a similar thing with the Bengals, though. They had a stud quarterback in Carson Palmer. They had Chad Johnson and TJ Hushmanzada. You know, they had stud wide receivers. You know, they've
already done more with Burrow than they did with those guys.
But Burrow didn't tear his ACL in the playoff game on a cheap hit that then got outlawed. You know, like it was in the regular season. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, but the Bengals never got over the hump. And like, I don't mean to peg that on them. It's been 2 healthy seasons, but like, will they be in that same spot? You know, like, and if they don't get there now, like, I don't know. It's going to be interesting because they're going to have to pay Burrow soon.
Right.
And
it's coming.
You're going to have to pay Chase, which, again, that's fine. Like, he's earned it. But then, like, all those other pieces that you've added in, it's suddenly not as easy to build that offensive line when you're paying those 2 guys a lot.
Right. Yeah, we'll see what they're able to do. And there's a lot of other topics to talk about.
Well, it's one where, like, how much trust do you have in the Bengals front office? Because historically they get it wrong. You know what I mean? Like, now they've drafted.
Like with Zach Taylor at head coach, though, this regime has been different.
Yes, I agree. And if he's calling more of the shots,
I don't know how much control he has.
Right,
I don't
because
know if he has any.
They made the right call on Joe Burrow. They made the right call on Jamar Chase. You know, so like, okay, like, yeah, they're earning that benefit of the doubt. They're earning the benefit of the doubt, but at the same time, it's just like I don't know. I just feel like we've seen this so often, you know, like. And man, Austin would be crushed if the Bengals don't get over the hump.
Right.
That's what you get for rooting for the Bengals.
You're lucky he's not up watching this.
Oh, he'd be furious.
Trash talking.
He'd be really mad.
Trash talking your son.
He'd be really mad.
So let's talk franchise tags.
Okay.
A bunch of them got thrown around again, kind of as expected. Maybe a little bit of a surprise in Jacksonville where they went with the veteran tight end Evan Ingram over their young developing right tackle, Jamal Taylor.
Yeah.
Is that his name? Did I get that right?
I think so.
Who has signed with the Chiefs now.
Yeah, Chiefs.
So they gave up on Orlando Brown, who they just the other year, a couple years ago, traded to get from Baltimore.
Right.
They're letting him walk, and they're bringing in Taylor from Jacksonville, who tagged Evan Ingram. Ingram had a great year with Trevor Lawrence this year. So not a surprise that they wanted to keep him, but I guess I'm surprised they picked him over their young tackle.
Yeah, I feel like you franchise the tackle and you work out a deal with the tight end, who's going to be a lot cheaper than the tackle.
Right. So I know. I guess Taylor wasn't developing enough in the running game as they had hoped. So obviously, with the Chiefs being by and large more of a passing team with Mahomes,
I was going to say ironic because Doug Peterson will throw it 70% of the time.
So that was one of the tags. Then the two that I wanted to talk about were the Giants and Daniel Jones and what went down with him and Saquon. The Commanders also tagged Aaron Payne, but they already signed him to a 4-year contract for $90 million. The Giants situation. What's your take on the Giants?
So, I believe I said back during, like maybe right after the high school football season, so in December sometime when we would have been talking, said I think what was going to happen was that they were going to sign Daniel Jones and that Saquon will be gone. I was half right. They signed Daniel Jones.
They did sign Daniel Jones,
Because I feel like I just thought that they're going to stick with their quarterback, who showed signs of progress this year, and they were going to let the running back go because you can't pay the running backs big money. Well, they franchised him, so they delayed that for a year. I think Saquon is his last year as a Giant, in my opinion. But I mean, Daniel Jones making. I don't know what the guarantee is for that, but was like a 4-year, $160 million deal or something like that?
Yeah, averages about $40 million.
Right.
He caught that?
Yeah. And our guy drops everything.
Right, yeah.
But I think Saquon is what makes their offense tick. I think Daniel Jones is the first, quarterback in I can't tell you how long. I forget the years that they threw up with this. But that has thrown fewer touchdowns than games started in 3 consecutive years.
Yeah, I just...
I think Daniel Jones is fine. I don't know that he's the answer there.
But that's the thing.
And here's the thing. What if, there are no weapons there other than Saquon, right?
Right. They have nothing.
So there's no weapons there other than Saquon. And that was when you had Daniel Jones on his rookie deal and Saquon on his rookie deal. And now you're not going to have either one of them on their rookie deal? And how are you going to surround them with weapons now?
Right.
Yeah, so I'm a little confused as to how that's going to get better, and I'm okay if it doesn't. I hope it doesn't. That would be fantastic if it doesn't get better. If it actually gets worse, I'm all for that.
So the Giants have a first round
pick. On the other hand, I understand what the Giants were too good. What are they going to do with their quarterback situation if they didn't go get it? You know what I mean?
I just feel like they did it the opposite way of what I would have done. I would have tagged Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
For the franchise, and I know that's a lot of money because quarterbacks are getting more money, but make him prove it for another year. Okay, you were above average this year, he's not a top 10 quarterback.
No.
He's not a top. I don't think he's a top 12
quarterback.
Should we do this exercise that we did before with who was it?
It.
Wasn't it Derek Carr last year?
Yeah.
Because everyone was like the Raiders are going to
compete.
compete.
The punt, then.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Let's go through and compare Daniel Jones.
All right. So we'll start.
Well, and let's just remind everyone listening or the few people watching live that I am not an Eagles fan. I have nothing against the Giants.
Right.
This is just me as a football fan.
Right. I am an Eagles fan, and I have a lot against the Giants, but I'll try to be this as straightforward as I can. If I look at it in the NFC East, In the NFC East, I'm taking Hurts over Daniel Jones, and I'm taking Dak over Daniel
Okay,
Jones.
so how do you want to do this? You want to count the number you take in front of him?
I'm gonna try and count the number I'll take in front of him.
Okay, so we're at 2.
We're at 2 already.
All right, well,
Because
then let's.
Washington QB, I'm not taking over him as of right now.
No, right. No, he's proved enough to
Right.
get the nod over Sam Howell.
So, okay, here's a tough one. Well, tough for me, maybe, but Mac Jones. Do you take Mac Jones over?
I think maybe you could argue higher upside, but on the field, I think I favor Daniel Jones.
I agree. But I'm taking Josh Allen.
Oh, 100%.
So that's
yeah.
3. Jets, I'm not taking Zach Wilson.
Or Joe Flacco or
Right,
whatever.
right. Jets QB.
Right.
Okay, Tua.
I mean, after last year, I would say I would take Tua.
Right. So,
But that's also my Dolphins
Right.
fandom could be playing
so
out there.
I'm probably going to take Daniel Jones just on the instinct of, if nothing else, Daniel Jones has stayed on the field a lot. Not perfect, but a lot. And I'm just so worried that Tua's not going to be able to stay on the field.
Well, this was an awful, awful series.
So I'm not gonna take Tua. So I'm still at 3. Well, maybe, man, this is looking worse and worse for my hot take of he's not. So if we go, let's go to the South. If we go to the South,
Oh God, it's not even a great punt.
I'm not taking the Panthers QB. I'm not taking. I'd take Derek Carr over him. So I'm at 4. If I look at the South teams, I'm taking Derek Carr.
All right, so you did NFC East, AFC, so you went to NFC South.
I went to NFC South.
All right, so you're not taking Trask, you're not taking rookie Panthers quarterback or
Right.
PJ Walker, you're not taking Desmond Ritter, but
Correct.
you're taking Derek Carr.
I am.
So you're at 4. I'd probably be at 5 because I'm taking Tua over Daniel Jones.
That makes sense.
And that's just probably my Dolphins colored glasses. But honestly, the way I look at it and can justify it is this. Last year was Daniel Jones' best season, in air quotes.
Yeah.
Tua's was better.
You're right.
Honestly, not even close.
You're right. You're right.
So I'm definitely taking Tua over Daniel Jones. Oh, they recovered it. All right, so that's it in the NFC South. So you're at 4, right? So
Yes.
AFC South, Tannehill.
No, I'm probably taking Daniel Jones.
Okay. Well, Colts don't even really have a starter right now. The
right.
Texans don't even really have a starter
but I'm
right now.
I'm taking
but
Trevor
you're taking
Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence. So
Yes.
you're at 5.
Yep.
So let's go to the NFC North. Aaron Rodgers.
I'm taking Aaron Rodgers. I mean,
Dis-
all the other stuff aside, I'm taking Aaron Rodgers over Daniel Jones.
Justin Fields. I feel like that's closer to a push, but I'll give Daniel Jones the benefit of the doubt.
Right now, I think next year I think you'll easily be able to say you'll take Justin Fields over him after next year.
I agree. Jared Goff.
Honestly, I'm taking Jared Goff.
I don't disagree.
Jared Goff's led a team to the Super Bowl. They had the worst offensive performance ever in the Super Bowl.
But look what he did this
literally.
year. Look what he did this
on
year.
the Lions.
Yeah.
Right, on the Lions. Yes, absolutely.
How about Kirk Cousins?
I'm taking Cousins as much grief as I give him.
Right.
I feel like Cousins is better than what Daniel Jones has been.
So you're up to, is that 7 then
I
you're
think
up
that's
to?
7 for me.
So let's go to the AFC North. Kenny Pickett. You got to take Daniel Jones
I'm taking
right
Daniel
now.
Jones over him. Yeah.
Deshaun Watson. Not counting off the field baggage. Just purely football standpoint. I feel like you... But the wacky thing is the time in between him being a starter. That's the and him playing much.
Oh, drilled the quarterback.
In terms of what has he's accomplished on the field, Deshaun Watson is a better quarterback.
Yes, absolutely.
So I would lean taking him. What about you?
Yeah, I'm taking Deshaun
All right,
Watson.
so that's 8. Joe Burrow, that's a no-brainer.
Yep.
9. Lamar Jackson, I think that's a
I'm
no-brainer.
taking Lamar
that's
Jackson
10.
too. Yep.
So everyone but Kenny Pickett in the AFC North, and that's just because he's only had half a year, basically.
Right. And honestly, I feel like Kenny Pickett has shown as much flash as Daniel Jones.
Right. Well, so, okay, NFC West. You have essentially Brock Purdy or Trey Lance.
I'm not taking them over him yet.
No, not yet. Geno Smith.
Okay,
I feel like I need to see more than 1 year, but
I agree, but like his year was better.
yeah,
He-
it definitely it
so
was.
like I
I think you'd still give Daniel Jones the benefit of the doubt.
me.
I
don't know though, because like Geno Smith this past year did something that Daniel Jones has not done. You know, like he had a better year than Daniel Jones has ever had.
Yeah.
Now he's played some terrible years as well, so like it is hard. But like, so well, for the sake of the argument, like I'll say no. Like I'll say no, I won't take Geno Smith over him, even though I think I might actually.
How about Kyler Murray?
I'm gonna say no,
Yeah.
even though like, man, like you can hit big with Kyler Murray, but I'm taking Daniel Jones. Like if I'm building a team, I'm taking Daniel Jones.
Come on, get under the ball. Matthew Stafford at this point.
I need to know more about that injury stuff.
I feel like age and injury is not working.
Yeah,
in
I'd
his
probably
favor.
take Daniel Jones. Like this is how I feel. I feel like Daniel Jones on the Rams last year, they're better than what they were. You know,
So Daniel Jones over every in the NFC West.
yeah.
So you're stuck still at 10.
Okay.
So, but now we're going to the AFC West, and things are going to get really interesting. You're
Right.
obviously not taking him over Patrick Mahomes.
No.
You're not taking him over Justin Herbert.
No.
Are you taking him over Russell Wilson? Before last year, I say no way.
Right.
But with how
Well,
awful
right.
Russell Wilson was last year,
Right. And like, and I know I isolated off the field stuff, but just like the weirdness of some of the Russell Wilson stuff has been just really strange. So
I'm putting a lot of pressure on you.
no pressure. No pressure. We got this.
Never a doubt. I did not know
Watch
that
your
was,
time.
I did not realize that was Wildcat.
There's almost no time.
Yep, I see
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Well, Jimmy Garoppolo.
I'd take Garoppolo.
Shoot. Stupid. Not a good decision. I need a quick out or something.
Yeah, so maybe he is in the 15 then, I guess.
Well, you see what did you say about Garoppolo?
I take Garoppolo.
You take Garoppolo, so that's 13.
Yes.
So you'd pick 13 quarterbacks in front of him.
Yeah.
I guess they don't want me to try a 52-yard field goal.
Love to get like a pass interference here.
Right.
It doesn't happen often, but I feel like Marshall gives us a fight every time.
All right, so you took 13 quarterbacks in front of him, and he just signed a contract for $160 million,
Right.
like $40 million a year.
Yeah.
Like he didn't do enough.
Which scares me to death over what the Eagles are going to have to pay Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, right. $60 million a year. Like, it's quarterback market is crazy, but
It is. That's just how it works, man.
well, because entering this offseason and this negotiations and franchise tags with all these quarterbacks that are out there, the list of the top 5 highest paid quarterbacks, only one deserved to be on that list, and he was number 5, and that was Mahomes.
Right.
And I know Rodgers is at the top, but you can't tell me you would take Aaron Rodgers right now. Should we do this again with Aaron Rodgers? And you got to look at this stage of the career. I'm not talking about like Aaron Rodgers' career. I'm talking about him right now.
Well, and Patrick Mahomes is more accomplished.
Right.
Like, in terms of the ultimate accomplishment, winning Super Bowls, he's done more already.
Yeah. Mahomes has been to 3 and won 2.
Which is more than Rodgers and more than Rodgers.
Right. That blows my mind that for 3 decades the Packers had 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks and won 2 Super Bowls.
Right. And only got there 3 times.
And only
right?
got there 3 times. So, but I don't like either of them. So it's easy for me to bring that up all the time. Chad Henne, more Super Bowl wins than Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
So, what was there was another. Oh man, I thought you were gonna get that.
I thought I was too.
I feel like there was another question about franchise tags.
Is it
that I
Lamar?
wanted. Yeah, I guess it was probably Lamar. So the Ravens did a little bit differently. They did the non-exclusive, so that teams can negotiate with him. The Ravens get the right to
I feel
match.
like the non-exclusive would have been great for
Screen.
Daniel Jones.
Right, yeah, because who is going to sign him?
Right.
Who is going to sign him for 2 first-round picks?
Right.
Not a chance.
No.
But I feel like it also they feel like it's disrespectful, and then you get in their head and they get all grumpy about it. But go out and do your job. Like I said to you and Adam, he's guaranteed $32.4 million. As soon as he signs that, he's guaranteed $32.4 million.
Right. Right.
Oh, I want a long-term deal. I want to be making I want to be making $100 million plus over the length of the contract. Like, I know we can argue about semantics.
I did hear a couple of things that I did not know. My gosh, they're in scoring position already. One would be that I didn't realize that when they sign them to, when you sign those, like, that guarantee money, that has to go into escrow. So like when
so they have to have that money to pay.
They have to have that cash on hand, right? So which is where like guys like Haslam, the owner of the Browns, who just has more money than he knows what to do with, as seen by like, well, I just bought the Milwaukee Bucks. It's just one of those things where like when he signs Watson to $230 million, he has to put $230 million cash into escrow. Like, I did not know that. I mean, and I guess that's a residual of like a long time thing, a thing from long ago in the CBA when like they weren't like, not every owner like had that, and so they like the players were like, yeah, you say this is guaranteed, but like,
right, yeah,
you don't necessarily have that money. Like, we want to make sure like that money exists. Be a heck of a time to like ever block a kick.
So
No, didn't block it. But I'm trying to think what the other thing was. Oh, and this was just someone's like anecdote. They're like, it is crazy because someone was like complaining. They're like, it takes a team like, and all these people spend so much money on the quarterbacks and everything. He's like, yes, but like you can't. And he wasn't blaming anyone. He was just kind of like explaining it as he saw it. Just to be clear. Like, for, I don't know, 15, 20 years? The league has done everything, not necessarily every single move, but over the 15, 20 years, we've seen such a change in the game to benefit the offense and protect the quarterbacks, right? Like,
Right.
And again, they're saying, like, they understand. They're just kind of pointing this out. You can't then expect it to not end up in a situation where quarterbacks are
Important.
like so, I don't want to say overpaid, but you know what I mean, like overvalued in the salary cap market. Like, well, you're creating a system that most rewards quarterback play.
Right.
You can't then expect it to not play out that way when it comes time for dishing out contracts. Like, and I'm like, all of those things I knew. You know what I mean? Like, I was aware of all of those. I just hadn't necessarily put it together like that before in my own head. I just thought that was an interesting point. And so, like, I was like, oh, that makes sense, Yeah, I kind of, I don't have a problem with what the Ravens did. Like, I don't think anyone's going to offer Lamar something that the Ravens aren't going to be willing to offer him. You know what I mean? So I don't think they're going to say goodbye to him.
No, I think he's stuck there for a year now. Whether he signs it and does like a sit-in, hold-in, or whatever, or hold-out, I just feel like we're heading towards something more like.
You think that's going to get uglier before it gets better?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
too.
But I think it's hard for me to fathom people legitimately taking Lamar's side in this, because he's done himself a disservice by representing himself.
Right. How much better of a spot would he be in if the, I don't want to say the villain, but like, this is why like guys like Drew Rosenhaus are so good at their job, right? Because a lot of this gets directed at the agent, you know, and the agent is the one to sort it out, and the agent is the one for good or bad. You know, good or bad, the agent is the one to sort it out.
I don't like this. Oh, gosh. Getting stuffed on runs.
Nice punt. Oh, that would have been awesome. All right, we need to get the ball back here. Let's go. Let's go.
I just like, and I'm a fan of Lamar Jackson, the football player. I feel like this entire negotiation thing has been wacky for the last 18 months.
Isn't it weird though that like, I feel like there are a lot of people who just overlook the fact that he's missed significant time the last 2 years, like, and not that it's like game changing stuff, you know, like, or maybe career altering stuff, but just like that's an issue when you're negotiating a contract.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But I think for some reason I just feel like Lamar's kind of gonna dig in, and we're gonna get into like a Le'Veon Bell situation where he's like, I'm just gonna hold out for a year. But I don't know how that works. If he doesn't sign the franchise tag, like does his contract then toll for a year though? Like, is he just delaying it another year, or should he sign it and get fined and not play? You know, do a hold. I
don't know.
See, I don't know the ramifications of that from a legal collective bargaining agreement type stuff.
Yeah, I don't either.
But I don't think the team wants that. So eventually you think they would have to try to trade him. But if they're going to trade him, they need to do it now.
Right.
Because eventually there's not going to be teams that are interested.
Right.
So I just think it's been messy, and I don't think it's going to get better. I think it's going to get worse. And I don't think really Lamar has anyone to blame but himself.
Right. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, we're a little far from this happening. But, like, it would be crazy. Like, imagine if he does play under the franchise tag this year and goes out and has, like, another MVP caliber year.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, just in this is, like, the me rooting for chaos kind of thing. Like, just how crazy would that be? There we go, sack.
And then you're basically saying, are you going to give him guaranteed money that he wants, or are you going to sign him for a second? Which, how much would the quarter? He'd be getting almost $50 million a year, I think.
Absolutely. And the thing is, then you'd have to pay him after some of the other big guys are going to get their contracts, like you know what I mean?
Like Burrow and Herbert,
and possibly Hurts. Yeah. You know, like.
And possibly this time next year too. If he has another good year,
yes.
They're not going to want him to ride out his fifth year.
Right. Tua leads them to the playoffs. You know, like, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Because
that 2020 quarterback class is stacked.
Man, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I'm so glad that's not my team, and I hope the Eagles don't find themselves in a similar situation with Hurts. I hope we get that worked out.
Man, 19 yards this half. Awful.
That's all right. We're saving them all for right now.
Yeah, I hope so.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks a lot. No pressure.
Well, yeah, it'll be interesting. The exclusive tag adds a whole nother wrinkle to that, but we shall see. Hey, glad we caught it.
Actually caught the ball.
That helps.
The 4-year starter that's been a 99 for 3 years.
Yeah. Just trying to think other topics. So,
Well, I was going to say, if you don't have any more NFL to talk about, we can move on to March Madness.
Yeah. Go.
So, Selection Sunday was yesterday.
Yes.
We got a field of 68.
Yes.
Big Ten got, what was it, 8 teams?
9,
in?
I believe.
9
I
teams
thought 9.
in. And Penn State's one of them for
Yes,
the
they
first
are.
time in 12 years.
Yep.
Yes, a dozen years.
Ending the longest drought of any Big Ten team.
And they are in as a 10, which I think is a little lower than I thought maybe they would get. I thought they would get an 8 or a 9. And they also have a bad draw because Texas A&M finished second in the SEC,
Right.
and they're a 7.
Right. Exactly. Now, I do like that. I think that they played on Sunday as well, so there isn't necessarily a rest factor difference.
They lost to Alabama, right?
Yeah.
In the
And a
SEC
lot of
championship.
teams, I keep hearing this, and I hope it plays out. A lot of analysts are talking about how Penn State is a bad matchup for a lot of teams because of the style they play. And I love that. I love that they're a bad matchup. I hope it plays out that way. Hopefully they can get their legs back under them here, get to Des Moines and win a game. Maybe two. Like if they can win one game, it would be incredible. If they win 2, that's just otherworldly.
Has it been 22 years since they won a tournament game then?
Probably.
Was it 2001 the last time?
Probably. Did they beat North Carolina?
Yeah, they made it to the Sweet 16 because I had Mr. Meyer as a math teacher.
Oh, my gosh.
And we gave him so much crap.
So I wore a Penn State basketball jersey to school the next day, and Mr. Conway was like, "I think you left a tag on." Like,
I had Penn State stuff on, and he was just like, "You guys don't even pay attention to Penn State basketball." I was like, "I'm just a Penn State fan."
I'm like, I did yesterday. Oh man.
So Penn State's the big story.
Right.
Purdue ended up beating Penn State in a close game.
Yeah.
Between the teams, that Penn State was down by 17. While I watched the whole game.
Yes,
I can't say that that's happened too much ever, but over the last few weeks, especially the Big Ten tournament, I've been watching a lot of it.
It's been exciting.
It's been very exciting, and I watched the entire Big Ten championship game. So when they were down 17, it was a huge bummer, but.
Nice.
They ended up losing to Purdue, and they have Zach Edey, who's 7'4", no exaggeration, and it's just a matchup nightmare for every team, but especially Penn State.
They talked about it a number of times. Just imagine that guy playing hockey. He's from Canada and grew up playing hockey. Like
insane. I mean, he's way bigger than Zdeno Chara.
Is he like
was.
looking over the glass? Like seriously.
Well, we were watching the game, and Haley was like, "Would he fit through our doorway?" I'm like, "No, he wouldn't. He would not."
Right. Unbelievable.
Yeah, totally. So, I think the biggest thing is that this could be even a crazier year than usual in March Madness because there's no heavy favorite.
Yes.
I feel like most people would say Alabama, but even so, they lost what, 5 times, four times?
Yeah, something like that.
Much more than we're used to seeing a lot of the one seeds lose. But you know, any of the, I would say any of the top 3s, you know, the 3 seeds could be possibilities. I would love to see Marquette do it. Xavier's in there, Gonzaga's in there. Obviously, Kansas and Arizona are 2 of the big teams in there as well. Houston.
Yeah.
So UCLA, who is actually, I'll spoil it. UCLA is my pick to win it just because I think they're the best blend of offense and defense. And I think defense is very important in the tournament. And they were, I believe, the second best defensive team all year. And the way that teams have been poor shooting this year, I think that could end up being a key factor as the tournament goes on. And I say all this and watch they'll lose in the first round, and I'll be forever embarrassed. But no one comes from my basketball hot takes. But that's where I'm at. I went with UCLA. I generally go more chalk than I had historically, especially when I was in college. I was always trying to predict the upsets, and you always felt good in the beginning when you predicted the upset, but if you picked the wrong team into the Elite Eight and the Final Four, it didn't matter if you got a first-round upset.
Right.
So you had to look at the bigger picture. So I tend to go more chalk than usual. A few upsets here and there, but nothing major. But, yeah, I mean, the storylines surrounding the Big Ten, not having a champion since Michigan State in 2000, and Purdue's a number one. I believe they were the last number one, however, one seed.
I think they were.
So I think they were 4th overall. I know that a lot of people are very high on Purdue, and they looked really dominant at times yesterday, but they were exposed too. They cannot handle the press.
No.
So if you get a good defensive team or a team with a lot of energy, they're going to cause them problems. Obviously, outside of Penn State, my next rooting interest is Marquette.
Yes.
For obvious reasons. For those of you that don't know, Marquette is home to Stevie Mitchell, who started every game for Marquette this year, and he is a Wilson graduate.
A couple awesome articles that we've seen this past week, including one on The Athletic on glue guys and talking about Stevie. It was just, it's awesome to see Stevie, such a neat kid, having such success, and the team having such success. It's just awesome to see.
2 housekeeping things here related to March Madness. The first one is, and we're running our bracket challenge, the tournament challenge we do through ESPN. We've done it every year of the podcast, so I guess technically this is our 13th challenge, and we've had a variety of winners over the year. It's been a lot of fun. Our dads have won. My sisters won. Other family members and friends have won. Our reigning champion, Andy Hoffert, will be joining us in a few weeks. He's going to join us to talk Penn State football. He will be here, I believe, on Palm Sunday, which I think is April 2nd. So Andy Hoffert, last year's winner, is going to finally get here to join us. I gave him the shirt last year, but he hasn't. We haven't been able to have him on the show, but we are going to make that right in a few weeks. So join our free bracket challenge. Again, the winner gets a T-shirt and the opportunity to appear on the show. A topic of their choosing that Justin and I must approve of, thanks to my sister. That's always a stipulation that's in there now. But you can find that on our social media or go to ESPN's Men's Tournament Challenge and search for Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. The password for that is PSU, all capitals, 2022. I did not change the password. I just didn't feel like it was necessary. So it's just capital P, capital S, capital U, 2022. That'll get you into the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show ESPN Tournament Challenge. We already have close to 30 brackets in there, and we have 3 days to go. You have to have it in by, I think, noon on Thursday. So please get your bracket in, or brackets. You're allowed to have up to 3 entered. I have 1. I enter 1 for Natalie, and then I always do 1 for Chalk Pick. So technically, I just have 1. Justin, I know you're already in there. Make sure you get Austin in there.
Yeah.
Kelly and Haley are going to be in. My dad's in. Usually your dad and mom play as well. But yeah, like I said, we're already up to almost 30 brackets. So keep joining. Let's try to get it to 70 this year. I think that would be the most ever. We've been in the 60s, 50s, and 60s many times, but I don't think we've ever hit 70. So I'd like to see 70, 75 brackets compete. And there are a bunch in there that I have no idea who they are, because if you don't change the name, it's hard for me to figure out. And I know there are, I think, some random people that found us on social media. So it'd be interesting to see if any of those ever won